Hello, lovely loves. Let me make sure this is on because I don't know for sure that it is again. As I just hit the button and I'm like, is this working correctly or am I looking? Okay, I think it is. Hopefully my voice isn't messed up. But if it is, it should autocorrect it, I think. So anyhow, I'm on today to discuss standards versus expectations and then how that fits into removing people from your life. So we all have, or we probably should have, standards, but the issue with standards sometimes is that sometimes our standards are actually based on our expectations. And I know in my last video I noted that okay, you shouldn't even have any expectations just because they're detrimental to how high you can go and they put you in a box. Well, this is kind of related to standards because you sometimes base them off of your expectations. So the best way to look at it would really be to just say, I hold myself in the absolute highest regard because I am one with God. So my standard should be what standard I would give to God. Like that should be my standard. Like, is this something that I would want for God or for Jesus or for however you want to look at it? That should be your standard. And if that's not your standard, then you need to at least step back and think about things like, how does this feel? And base it more off of your intuition and how you're feeling in any situation. And standards are definitely important. And I'm not saying that, having no expectations means having no standards, because I kind of noticed that in that video, and they're totally not the same thing as far as the way I use my vocabulary. They're not the same. So your standard would be what you actually already have as a baseline. Like that you are abundant, you are love, you are worthy, you're incredible. So you're worthy of everything. And your aura, your love shines everywhere. And that's just the standard. That's just the baseline. And even if you didn't have that, like, especially if you're younger, and a lot of times with younger people, they have confidence issues where it's like, they're not quite as confident in themselves because they've been told so much that they have to listen to what other people do and think and follow the rules and that they're not right. And so their standards may be lower, but that's when they have to just go based off of how they personally feel in every moment. If someone's treating you a certain way, how do you feel about it? And then to have the confidence to say something in relation to how you're feeling about how you're being treated. And so then my next thing would be removing people from your life. So the way that it works, once you get to a certain point, you don't have to remove anyone because they will be removed for you. And that means that your vibration only attracts what you're asking for. So if you're asking whatever it is that's happening to you in your life, whoever it is that's contacting you or that's in your life right now, they're there because you asked for them to be there. So removing them is just essentially removing a part of yourself. Now, with that being said, if you have such messed up standards and I mean, we've all done it. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. Like there's something automatically wrong with you if you have this, because I know it's something that we all kind of go through where it happens. But if your standards are so low for yourself that what you're attracting is that low vibration, that low, those are the type of people you're attracting to you, then that's when you have to be able to say, you know what, this isn't what I'm calling to me. And it's not like you have to literally tell them, you know what, I'm cutting you off. It's just a matter of, hey, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And if you got an issue with that, oh wow, I'm not, you know, but it's never like a constant battle of a trying to, I mean, I'm just trying to think. I've had people in my past where, you know, maybe they were slightly stalkerish, or maybe they were slightly like just insane. And it was never an issue where it was like, oh, you know, I have to literally, I mean, usually I would just let them know exactly how I felt. And of course, when you do that to someone, a lot of times they have their own delusion, because you called them under a certain pretense. And then you've changed, or you've decided to now go onto a different pretense. So you call them to you, maybe you call them to you because you wanted them, and then you realize later, oh wait, I'm actually past this right now and I don't need this in my life. And that's fine. So you can let them know, hey, you know what, there's this, and this is what I want, because I know that you want this, because your intentions match. That's why you call them to you. So whoever you're calling to you in your life, you're calling them to you because there's a match there in whatever it is, like whatever it's for. So it's like, what is it for? What is this relationship for is always the question. And when you call people to you, it's because you've asked for that relationship for whatever reason. You just have to figure out what is it for. And I mean, you don't have to figure it out. You can really just know automatically based on how you feel. So if you're feeling a certain way whenever you're with this person, like, I'm not feeling too good, I don't really want them around me right now, like, I really would rather not be around this person, that's when you know that you're not a match anymore. But for whatever reason, maybe they have a different feeling because they still have that original intention that they're working on, and you've now moved beyond that intention. So in that situation, what you would do is you would just say, you know, I get what your intention was, especially if you know what it is, but my intention is now different for blah, 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 blah. And then just stick with that. Stick with that intention. And, you know, eventually it will dissipate and it will, you know, go, wait, what did Maya and Jen say? Remove you to produce you. So yeah, I mean, you're removing the parts that you've already gotten past. And that's only when you actually are still calling a low vibration to you. Because actually, there's a certain point where it doesn't even come in your awareness. Like, I've been in situations where people just couldn't see me. Like, they literally just were like, I couldn't see you. I walk, I look for the person, and then they just can't see me. And it's because the vibration is so different that what I'm calling to me is so completely different than what they are calling to them at the moment, that they're not able to interact with me. And this is how it works. Because once you get to a point where you're like, okay, I understand, I'm going to go with who I am. I'm going to really just do who I am. And I know my worth. And I'm not going in with any expectations, but I'm going to extend the love that I am outward. That's when you'll get back to you that. And you'll get back to you only that. So if you're not a match for that, you're either going to immediately pass out. Like literally, people will literally fall asleep. And this is where it gets to be the point where you're now a master, because you're now shining so much light that there is no way to even look at you, to even look at your face without being able to receive that vibration. So this is what I mean by removing people from your life, because at that point, there's no need to remove anyone from your life. At that point, no one is even able to be in your life if they're not to the standard of what your resonance is. And I mean, there's obviously the way that it works is you have these spirals, you have these twists that you still have to unkink. So you may get people that are coming to you from a vibration that may be slightly, you know, off-putting to you, but the reason they're there is because you need to learn. You need to learn whatever it is from them in order to now get past that and shine your light better. So this is why it's always, all you can do is thank your brothers and sisters. That's all you can do, is give them thanks. whether it's something that you don't agree with or not. It's one thing to literally get involved to the point where you're now hurting yourself or hurting someone else. But as far as learning from them, that's what they're for. That's what everyone is here to do with each other. We're all here to learn and to love one another. That's it. That's all we have to do. Literally, we just have to see each other as ourselves, love one another, learn from one another, get past all of our hang-up and kinks that we've just put ourselves in these nasty little holes, and then realize what we really are, which is totally... There's no way to physically really realize this because it's so beyond our conception. But at least we can have inklings of it when we're with our brothers and sisters and we're sharing that love and we're extending that love. There's moments of pure joy. There's moments of just pure love that just shines through. And this is what we're here for. We're here to have this time, and we're here to have these moments consistently, always. So, and love can be attraction or repulsion as long as it's honest. True alchemy. Well, yeah, I mean, there's obviously love that it's a repulsion on one end, but when it's a repulsion like that, it's more like, okay, I'm repulsed by blah, 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 but it's always something physical. It's always something that's tangible or something that someone's doing, and that's not even really real. And it's interesting because when you're in form, which we're all experiencing everything here in form, so it seems like, you know, like with my husband, it seems like, oh, I don't like the way you smell right now. And it's like, and that's something that like my senses are giving me. And the senses are telling you something because there's something there, maybe that's, you know, maybe he eats a certain way and it just comes out in a way where it's like, I don't resonate with that. And that's fine, but you still have to be able to see beyond that. Like, I'm not, oh, I'm divorcing you because, you know, you eat Doritos too much or something. It's more like, okay, well, mesh like what? Because everybody meshes to a point. I'm not, love is love. There is something to be learned from everyone. And no, you can't talk to everyone. You can't communicate with everyone. The people that are called to you will be the ones that you communicate with, because you're supposed to have interactions with who you're supposed to. I mean, nothing's really left up to chance the way you think. The people that you communicate with are who you're supposed to communicate with. It's not so much that you're not supposed to communicate with the other people. It's more or less just at this time on your timeline, these are the people that you are to communicate with. But it's not so much like these are the people that if you're with, you're suddenly going to be in a bad situation. That's not necessarily the case. Yeah, you can blow up your house if you make chemicals and you mix it up in a bad way, but if you're mixing chemicals up and you're doing it with intuition, this is higher than your conscious mind. Because when we use our conscious minds and we think that we know something, we're not doing anything. There's really nothing, there's nothing there in the mind that we think, like the mind that I think that I use that is my little Love Quitesh self. That's not the same as the actual goddess or the actual God-like mind that's working behind everything. And so if you were to go and to do chemicals and to literally be listening to that mind, it wouldn't blow up your house. So if you were to go out and when you're talking to these people, if you're being guided to talk to these people, then it wouldn't mess up. And if it did mess up, then that was because you needed to learn something. And this is how it always is. It doesn't even have to be necessarily the higher self part. It's just that the higher self is never really going to put you in pain. But you end up putting yourself in pain because you need to go through this. This is the only way that you can learn this is through the pain. And you don't have to learn through pain, but we make it, a lot of times we make ourselves feel like we have to learn through pain, even though we don't literally have to learn through pain. And I mean, it's with anything. I know you meant it as an allegorical example, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're doing it and you're doing it based off of that, if it's going wrong, it's because you need to learn something. And if not, it's not so much that, oh, God is making these bad things happen. It's you are making them happen because it's the only way you're going to figure something out. And so God's been sitting here trying to get to you, or whoever, I mean, you don't have to use the term God, but whoever's been trying to get to you in any way possible, in every single facet possible, this who you really are has been trying to get to you to open you up to it. And then as long as you're sitting here blocking it, then one day you might just get in a car crash because, hey, you've been blocking it so long that, hey, there's no other way. This is how it's going to be now. So maybe you're going to learn now. It's like you're going to learn today, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all I wanted to say because it's actually time for me to be leaving anyhow. But the whole point is that, yeah, you really need to just make sure that you keep your standards to what you would want for Jesus if you're that type of religious person. Like, would I do this for Jesus? Would Jesus eat this? And I mean, maybe you have an effed up view of it and you're like way too high and you're just messing yourself all up with that. But my point is that just keep your standards. If your expectations, obviously you shouldn't have them, but you should have a standard of who you are and at least know that you're way beyond what you could comprehend. So that way you can draw to you the things that are deserving of you. Because really, we're so deserving. There is nothing here that can really compare to how deserving we are. This is why everyone here is always looking for something, because there's nothing here that can ever fulfill us, because we're worth so much more than anything here. So it's a never-ending story if you think you're going to find something that's really deserving of you. But what you could find is things that will give you joy, give you peace, at least for the time being, allow you to connect to love. And it's not so much that these things are doing it, but it's you allowing yourself to feel it. So, anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and head off here. And thank you, lovely loves. Bye.